Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My question is to the Minister for Children. Does she stand by all her statements and actions in relation to the Military-Style Academy pilot and young offending? If so, why?
The Honourable Chhour.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Yes, in the context in which I said and did them. In particular, my statements that Oranga Tamariki does not have the ability to restrict the movement of these young people or the choices they make once they leave the residence and return to the community. And also my statement that we have already seen success with the Military-Style Academy, including involvement for the participants in jobs, education and training.
Supplementary.
That's ridiculous.
Does she stand by her statement in relation to the young serious offenders legislation that, quote, then we can actually have a more intensive program where it's not just 3 months in, 9 months out. It'll be 12 months in, 12 months out, with the option of extra time if the young person still needs it, and if so, why?
Mr. Speaker, the new legislation will allow the ability for a judge or a court to decide on the level of intensive response that is needed for a young person based on their needs. It is to be no less than 3 months, but no more than 12 months. Each young person has their own issues that they are dealing with and may need a different level of intervention.
Will she rule out any involvement of the New Zealand Defence Force or corrections in any future military-style academy?
Mr. Speaker, I'm not responsible for corrections or defence.
Point of order, Mr. Speaker. It is in relation to the Military-Style Academy. I have asked if she will rule out their involvement in the Military-Style Academy.
From the point of view of the Minister for Children, I think the Minister could expand on that answer.
Mr. Speaker, this is a pilot that is ongoing, that has worked with Defence and has worked with multiple agencies to make sure that we get the best outcomes for these young people, and those will be future discussions that to be had.
Supplementary.
Laura Trask.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's Laura
Yep,
McKenna.
okay, got that wrong, sorry.
No worries. What would the alternative be for these 10 young people if they hadn't been on the military-style pilot program?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. These young people were already in a youth justice facility, Mr. Speaker, on a supervision and residence order from a judge. If they were not on the pilot, they would still have been released back into the community at the end of their order. However, they would not have had the extra support the pilot provided, such as intensive case management, a one-on-one intensive mentor, psychologists, social workers, and other service providers that were working with them to help keep them on track.
Supplementary. How many participants in total have allegedly reoffended, including offending not involving police, or breached the conditions of their in-community transition plan?
Mr. Speaker, there's some questions in there that I may not be able to answer because they may not be to my knowledge, but there has been 3 young people that have had accusations of reoffending.
Supplementary.
Thank you. What recent statements has she seen about the military-style academy pilot?
Mr. Speaker, there's been many statements that have been put out to the public, and I think there's one in particular that needs to be clarified. It was suggested that a young person had died in the Military-Style Academy pilot. This is simply untrue. A young person has tragically died in the community whilst in the care whilst in whānau placement. The attempt to use the death of a young person for political gain is absolutely shameful and disgusting, and that statement was actually shared on social media by someone who should have known better, and that was Green MP Tamantha Paul.
Supplementary.
Just let's give the House a few seconds to settle itself down. Now would be good.
In relation to the previous question I asked, Has Oranga Tamariki advised you of any other incidents?
Mr. Speaker, nothing that was in the public interest currently that I can speak to.
Supplementary. If she sees any harm being done to children in the military-style academies, in residence or in the community, will she promise to shut them down?
Mr. Speaker, in all seriousness, I came into this role to make the lives of young people better. Children and young people have been hurt and harmed for over 20 to 30 years. The Royal Commission report has brought this to our attention. What I can say is I will put all safety mechanisms that I can in place to keep these young people safe. But we cannot continue to do what we were doing, which was absolutely nothing.